name is Caro, and this is a video podcast where I like to talk about all the crafty things I like to do. And these days it is all cross stitch, although today I also have a tiny little bit of knitting at the end to show you. Yeah, so it's actually not been that long. I just checked. I recorded for the last podcast on March 9th. Today is March 25th. So it's about 3 weeks since I last recorded, but I figure it's good timing because I actually have an unexpected day at home because my son is sick, unfortunately. He had a bit of a fever this morning, was just not up to going to daycare, and currently he's asleep. So I figured I take the advantage and film for a podcast, because otherwise I probably would have only gotten around to that next weekend. And yeah, we have some exciting news to share, one of which I would like to address right now, because we've hit 1,000 subscribers like yesterday, and it is due to I guess I am due a big thank you to Pam and Steph of the Just Keep Stitching a podcast, or they're not a podcast, Flosstube, sorry. But I'm already thinking about, because I watched their video, and one thing they said is they learned a thing from me that like they were wondering why people call reference to these things as podcasts, as I do as well. And yeah, that comes from the knitting world, although I did not coin that term, and I don't really know why people call it a podcast, because yeah, technically podcasts are audio things. There's no video with a podcast, but for some reason it's just a thing in the knitting world that these types of things are called knitting podcasts. So I just stuck to it and did it the same. And yeah, now it's also a stitching podcast, or Flosstube, as you guys like to say. But yes, a huge thank you to them. They are two very lovely ladies. I was actually not aware of their channel, and looking at how big their channel is, I really don't know why, but YouTube just has not recommended them. But yeah, so I just watched their episode where they mentioned me, and it seems to me that Steph is the shopkeeper of keepsakes, which I've definitely heard of before. And yeah, they do weekly updates, and in the beginning of their videos, they have two categories, or where they mention other floss tubers. And I was in their silver category, meaning I'm new to them, and I am fairly new to the floss tube world for sure. And yeah, so thank you very, very much for mentioning me. That definitely brought over some new folks. So thank you. Hello, welcome. Let me know down in the comments if you've been sent over by them. I'm curious to know. It definitely spiked a little bit the influx of subscribers, and happened to push me over the 1,000 subscriber mark. So thank you very much. But since I'm mentioning mentions, there is one mention I really, really am totally overdue mentioning back, because I just didn't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, you other floss tubers out there, tell me if you have an easier time, but I find it extremely hard to notice when somebody mentions you, especially in the very, very beginning when you're very new, where you're just not aware that even happens, kind of thing. Because I guess I just assumed you would get notified by your app. I even have the YouTube Studio app on my phone, but no, in the Studio app, I don't find that at all. The way I figured it out so far is when I'm actually in YouTube, because I have two channels. I actually have one channel, this one, and then one where I watch. I don't know, I just opened a separate one. I didn't want to do it on my private account, but I already had all my subscriptions on my private one. So that's why I'm kind of doing two YouTube channels, but whatever. So usually I'm on my private channel, so I have to switch into my podcasting channel to then go under notifications, and then eventually I can find if somebody has mentioned me. And I missed somebody at the very, very, very beginning. I think it's 11 months ago that she mentioned me. And she is super cool. Like, she's Elle, the Keystone Stitcher. And she has a Flosstube, obviously, where she mentioned me 11 months ago. So thank you so much for the mention. And and I just found her channel through that mention, and it is a great channel. She has really cool projects. Like, she does a lot of full coverage, mainly full coverage, and great taste. There is a bunch of patterns in there, and now I can't recall, but she just recently mentioned, like, she started a new project by an artist. I can't even remember I'll find it and put it down below. But yeah, like, that artist that she picked a chart from, she has like a bunch of beautiful pieces of art that she had turned, or like that the cross stitch company then turned into cross stitch. And I'm very, very tempted. I'm very tempted. So I might have to get one of those as well. But yes, definitely go check out Al over at the Keystone Stitcher, who kindly mentioned me at the very beginning, which is where it obviously helps a Flosstube the most, right? When we're small, and a little help is very much appreciated. So thank you so much. And I guess also in honorable mentions is we had a 1-year floss anniversary, but that's already kind of a month past. More than that, we actually had I released my first Flosstube episode on the 13th of February. And since we're obviously now in March, we kind of missed that date. So yay! We're celebrating the 1 year with 1,000 subscribers. Isn't that nice? I'm longer on YouTube though. I don't know. Not everybody might be aware of that, but I started as a knitting podcast, as I explained in the beginning, and that actually I started sometime in September, like more than 5 years ago. But I was always a very, very small channel. It definitely grew bigger with me starting to talk about floss, which is nice. And yeah, obviously it is nice if there's people out there who are interested in what I have to talk about. And yeah, I've made a lot of nice connections on here, some very special ones as well. So, but enough of that. Let's get into the episode. I have not crazy amounts, but we have 2 new starts, one of which I announced last time already, so you'll know what that is going to be. And then I have 3 whips to talk about. No, two more. Like, we have 3 more whips. 2 new starts, 3 whips. And then a tiny bit of haul, and that one knitting project that I just mentioned. So let's get started. And I want to start with the new start. And I'm so excited. Yay. So I talked about this last time. Me and Anna from the Alchemist Stitcher, we started on my birthday. That happened on last Saturday, March 22nd. A Gecko Rouge kit, and we both purchased this kit, the Pumpkin Spice Cottage from Kate Brazier, charted by Gecko Rouge. And mine did arrive just after I filmed for the last podcast, but I just didn't find the time then to record me unwrapping, packing, and whatnot, and I figured it's not too crazy important. And then I took some nice pictures and actually put it up on my Instagram, which is caro.kirsch, so you can give me a follow over there. Hopefully I'm going to be a little bit more active over there, sharing the progress on this piece. And now let me show you. So Anna and I, we started it together on my birthday. We actually did a Zoom call and talked and both put our first stitches in. And this is where I am at. And I actually just stitched on it, and I haven't looked at my total numbers. So let me quickly do that. Where is it? There. I'm at 0.6%, which is is 993 stitches. So let me give you a nice close-up. So this is where I am, and as you might be able to tell, I did not start in my usual upper right corner. I started in the lower right corner. And the funny thing is actually, because Anna and I were talking about this just via chat, and my first idea was to just start it as per usual in the upper right corner. I actually was quite excited because lots of lovely blues, and then you have this owl to work towards. But then maybe I'll just insert some haul so it's not so much at the very end. I decided I wanted to give a scroll frame a go. So I got a scroll frame kind of tacked on as a birthday present to myself, just as an addition to this project, I guess. This is one from a German shop. It's kind of their house build. It's a Marussia shop, and I think it's a good quality frame. Like, I have no issues with the quality whatsoever. You can make it nice and tight, so that the fabric is nice and tight. So no issues here. And I started it on this frame, but I didn't get along with it. I don't even think it's necessarily the fault of the frame, and it's more like that I didn't get then the proper stand with it. I had it rigged up with my stuff over here, and I don't know, it was a little bit too awkward and cumbersome. So, I mean, I have it now. Maybe I can ask my husband to build me a stand for it, or maybe one day I'll just cave and buy a stand. But for right now, me and scroll frames aren't the best friends. So I put it in a hoop, which is also a piece of haul. This is actually a piece of birthday haul. My mom got this one for me. So yeah, now I'm stitching here. But yes, what I was saying, so we wanted to both put our first stitch in, and as we were talking before, I kind of got the impression that Anna would start at the top left corner, which is her usual corner, although she was kind of thinking about maybe starting with the fun colors in the bottom with a red. But yeah, I was pretty set on starting in the upper right corner. But then I got the scroll frame, and I always wanted to try the stitching method of the 50 needle stitcher, who's stitching with a scroll frame, and she's kind of stitching a little bit the typewriter method, so one stitch at a time within like whatever area she's choosing, like a 10 row block, and then she's kind of working the column up, or a 20 row block, working the column up, and then she kind of just parks with the needle. So she kind of stitches her stitch and does not cut the end. She just pokes it in the fabric with her needle, and then she carries on with the next color, pokes it up in the fabric, and then, I don't know, kind of continues stitching like that. And I really like that because it seemed efficient to me. Like, you're filling out the whole area, you're not missing stitches, but you also don't rethread your needle a million times. What I definitely don't like about the whole parking method, A, the hanging threads, and B, also the having to rethread your needle all the time. But I figured out it's mainly the hanging threads that really, really bug me. I think I also did the mistake that I'm using very long threads for this project, which I since remedied. But anyways, I started, and it's so awesome. I love it. It's great. And I started here with these kind of red orangey colors. So that was kind of block stitching, but now I reached a point where I'm actually getting into the blues, the background in this case, and it's getting a little bit more confetti, but it's a nice mix of the two. So yay, it's a good, decent start. I have a little bit of a mental goal of putting 2,000 stitches into this in March. And I actually just watched Anna's Flosstube. She released one yesterday on her birthday. And so happy birthday, Anna, again. What was I saying? And she said that she kind of has her personal goal of putting 1,000 stitches per month on this piece, kind of going forward, which I like the sound of that. I think I want to put 2,000 in just in the beginning month, in the starting month, and then maybe aim for 1,000 to kind of catch up with her. Because it would be nice if our pieces grow at a similar rate. We'll probably depart from one another at one point, but I guess I would like to start at a similar pace to her. So we kind of see the piece grow at a similar rate. So yay. And yes, did I even mention our hashtag? So we have a hashtag which is called Gecko Waiting for Fall. So I'll put it in. It's running over here on YouTube, but also over on Instagram. We also actually shouted out our hashtag in the Facebook Gecko Rouge group. So I think hashtags work over on Facebook, so you can use it there too. But I'm not too crazy active on Facebook, to be honest. But anyways, but yes, we're basically admitting, I mean, I don't want to gatekeep, but I guess we are making a SAL, which is gecko kits. So that's, I guess, the one prerequisite. If you have a gecko kit, that then falls into the fall, autumn, winter category, you're very welcome to start along or stitch along with that. We don't really have a finish date necessarily. I guess we're loosely aiming for 1 year, and we'll see what happens. We see how much fun we all have stitching on this project together. But I'm very excited. Needless to say, the colors are great. Okay, I stopped talking about this now. But can you tell? I love this project. I had a second new start though, which also has some relation to the birthday, because the weekend prior to my birthday weekend was my husband's mother's birthday. And I did show this kit that I got before, and the kit I'm talking about is the Birds Summer by Luca-S. And this is a kit the mother of my husband picked for me to stitch for her. And it was kind of a spontaneous decision, because on my last episode, I was kind of whining around a little bit that I'll probably have to stitch this from paper because I'm not able to get a digital chart. But then a super lovely viewer just sent me the Saga chart. So now I have a Saga file of this, which is super awesome. So thank you very much. You know who you are. It's working great. And that happened on that Sunday morning. That was my mother-in-law's birthday. And I was like, you know what? I think this is some kind of sign that I should start this. And I did. It is a little bit of a measly start though. I put 30 stitches in, and I don't even know which side is up. I think this is the way up. So yeah, this is 30 stitches. Doesn't even look like 30 stitches, but Saga says it is, so I'm just gonna trust. So yay. From here it just looks like a white piece of cloth. So yes, I started this. I just worked a very short amount of time on this, as you can tell. I started in the middle of the chart, so we're somewhere here in that rose. Is that even a rose? No, I don't think it's a rose. I'm not good with flowers. My grandma would be very sad. She would know what kind of flower that is, but it is a beautiful piece. But yeah, I guess the idea was great, but in the end, I didn't end up being in the right mindset for this stitch. Because yeah, I think I want a hoop for this as well, because of the Ada. I'm realizing Ada I don't like too much for stitching in hand because of its stiffness. So I think this will work better in a hoop, which I have now. So yes, I think once I have this in a hoop, I'll make better progress. But it is started, which is nice. So it's obviously easy now to pick it up and work on it. Let me show you. So I have these weird floss cards that you get with the Luca-S kits. It's a nice rainbow kind of color palette, which is fun. I don't know, I haven't really worked very long, obviously, only for like 30 stitches with these, but I'm kind of already seeing myself transferring this to my trusty floss parts, but I'm gonna wait and try it a little longer before I pull the trigger on that, but I'm already kind of toying with that in my head. But yeah, that is my second chart. Move on to my works in progress, and now we're working our way from worked on most to worked on least. So we are going to start with my Tomb Raider piece, which is a chart that I created myself. First of all, I took 3 images of the the front covers of the latest Tomb Raider games. I'll just put it. This one is too glary, I think, because of the darkness of it. It doesn't really work with this. Yeah, it's the 3 front cover images of the 3 latest game of the Tomb Raider series: Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And I stitched them together in Photoshop, and then I worked them through a cross-stitch software and made a chart. And this is how much I got done. This is 2,451 stitches, and I love it. I actually had a lot of fun stitching on this in the last 3 weeks. This is the most progress I put in any of my pieces. And yeah, it's super calming because it's very connected. Like, it's not a lot of confetti at all. It's just a gradient right now. I'm working this checkerboard, which I dreaded, as I mentioned last episode, but it is actually super nice to stitch. I'm kind of like, I skipped one color in here and stitched the next ones. That once I'm done with this color actually stitched down here, I can just fill in all the blanks without having to look up the pattern at all. It's kind of my reasoning behind there. But this color here actually also goes along here and will then stitch me to Laura. So maybe next time we'll already start seeing Laura come a little bit to life on this piece. So I'm very excited about this. I like where this is going. I'm definitely glad I redid the chart and used the dithering, what I talked about last time. And yeah, making a good progress here. Oh yeah, I haven't really talked about counts whatsoever. So let's just start doing that here. I probably will have put it in my little info boxes. But this one is 25 count, and I'm stitching this to over 110 stitch. Yay! Okay, the next project is my loon, and with the loon comes my finished bag. So I showed this at the very end from my last podcast, where I just had the binding to finish, and now it's finished, and I'm super happy with that bag. And it ended up being the perfect fit for my loon project, because the nerd hoop fits in here, which is great. So let me get it out. It is a little bit tight, but it is okay. Ooh. Yeah, I tend to do that. I just stop, and then there's like a threaded needle still hanging. But yes, so I worked on this piece a little bit more as well. How many stitches did I put in here? This one was 991 stitches. And I'm not quite sure. I'll put in a picture before, but I think I worked a little bit more over here, but then decided to kind of tackle that area, which is probably the highest confetti area ever. I think every single stitch is a different color in that area. And I'm definitely messing up in there. Like, I stitched the darker colors in here first, because that's kind of what I came down with from the head. And now I have to fill in the white colors or the light colored colors, and it's super hard to see if I stitched there already or not. And I'm definitely placing stitches a little bit random, but it's still kind of coming out stripy. So I guess that's okay. But yeah, and then I'm coming down here with the lighter stitches. So this is where a lot of the progress is, but you probably can't tell because I stitched with a lot of light colors and not loving it. So it was a bit hard stitching on this one in the past 3 weeks. I wanted to make more progress on this, but yeah, I guess I'll have to push through the lighter colors and hope it'll get better once I'm done with this area. I mean, yeah, there is a bunch of light colors here because the belly of the loom is white and down here. But yeah, the rest will be, I mean, the loom has the white spots as well. So yeah, I mean, I kind of expected this to be confetti hell, but it's kind of added now with the light colors confetti hell as well. So I hope I'm not gonna totally struggle on this piece, but yeah, so that's what I've been doing on this one. But I mean, close to 1,000 stitches isn't too bad either, so I guess that's okay. Yes, and then we're already at the last project I want to talk about and show you, because that's the last project I worked on in the last 3 weeks, and that is what is turning into my garden project, because it's so nice and portable and small. I actually still have my full image in here, but this isn't the full, this is the Hanged Man, which you can't tell yet, but I started working on the frame. I finally have a little more than 16 stitches in here. How many stitches is it? It's at 4%, not quite, but nearly. No, not that button. I put 165 stitches in since last time. So yeah, this is the Hanged Man by the Witchy Stitcher, and I'll put in, hang on, I can show you my final version, and I'll put in her version. So yeah, I'm stitching a blue version. I basically swapped her pinks to blue colors, and yeah, not much else to say. I mean, you've heard me talk about this before, so I feel like I don't need to go into detail every single time. But yeah, this is nice for sitting in the garden with the kids, especially now with a frame, because I don't even need to refer to the pattern that much, because yeah, I just needed to count out the width ones, and now I can just, it's like 3 layers. You have like the colorful, then you have the white, which goes all the way around, and the black, which goes all the way around. So that's what I'm gonna be working on first for now, and eventually I'm gonna start putting in the title area there. Maybe we'll see some of that next time. So yes, that is all the projects I worked on since last time, and maybe I'll show you my one knitting project, which I'm actually very excited about as well, and responsible for it again is as per usual. I don't know why, but I guess, yeah, I think I know why. So the reason why I started this project is Crafty Gaming Jamie. She actually took a bit of a hiatus from podcasting, at least for her standards. I think she didn't release an episode for like 2 months or something. And then she came back and showed another muscle burr hat, which she already inspired me to make one as well in December. But this muscle burr hat that she's casted on now is actually with scrap yarn. And then I was like, oh, I want to do a scrap yarn project as well, because the favorite project I ever knit was a scrap yarn project, and that was a stripy sweater for my daughter. I'll pop in a picture of it here. I love this sweater. The picture I probably chooses from when I knit it for her, and back then it fit her like a dress. Like, it's been 3 years since then, I think. Yeah, I gave it to her when she was 3, so it was obviously still quite big, and we needed to fold up the arms, but she's still wearing it, and she's still, like, it's her favorite sweater. She really honestly loves it. She picks it out herself, like, she dresses herself. I don't really dress her anymore, So she picks that out on her own. She loves that sweater and it's holding up really, really well. So, and I love it too. Like, I think the colors just look really nice. Yeah, it's great. And it's using up scraps, which is even better. And then I wanted to make one for my son. So, yay! And it's super easy to knit as well. So this is gonna eventually become a sweater. So the way you knit it is in stripes, and this is the body. So you start from the bottom and just knit stripes up, and eventually there's gonna become like, originally, like, there is a design, it's called the zebra cardigan. I can't remember, the Hannah Ström. For some reason that name pops into my head. Might be right, might be wrong. I'll put it in. She sells these as finished products. She's a Swiss knitwear designer, I think. But she had an article in a magazine where there were like very, very basic instructions on how to make it. So my mom actually started making these for my sisters and my kids. But yeah, again, I started making one as well. And yeah, you put technically a button band in here, but I decided to just kind of Kitchener this together with a band and then just knit buttons on top, because it is just a decorative button band anyways. You don't really use it, you don't open it, because it goes on the back of the sweater. Like, the button band goes on the back of the sweater, and then it has a cute hood. And anyways, I love it. I love it. I think this is great. This also fits my son. It's going to be a very different kind of color story from my starter sweater. And yeah, just kind of grabbing the tiny little leftovers I have and running with it. I did a little bit of a pre-selection here. I took out all the ones that I already used. Hang on. Here. Can you see? There. These are the colors that are still kind of coming. And then I'll just repeat in a random fashion. So, yay. Really excited with this. This is also nice for the garden. I think in the summer my crafting will probably change a little bit, because we spend a lot of time in the gardens, like after daycare, just for an hour. And then I like to grab something and stitch or knit in the garden. But yeah, my bigger projects that I have in a hoop now, where I'm used to having it on my clamp, where I'm not holding it, where I can stitch with both hands, I can't really do those in the garden. Which is why I've been grabbing this one, which I stitch in hand, or my knitting, which are nice and easy and portable. So I'll definitely get some work into my smaller other projects as well, which is nice. I do love my full coverage. I think it's definitely where I spend most of my time. But as I've mentioned before, it's just nice to get finishes and also work on other crafts, which I still love, but it's suffering a little bit now with my new hobby being a cross stitch. And yes, that is the knitting. And now all that remains to show you is a tiny little bit of haul, which now seems a little bit boring, but I'll show you anyways because I mentioned it. Because there is one more project, full coverage project, that I guess I talk a little bit of plans first. You know what? Let's not do haul. Let's just do plans, and I'll show you my haul while I talk about plans. Because something I haven't really mentioned anymore, but I am sort of still doing it, is my whip go. But I don't even remember the last time when I mentioned whip go here on the podcast, but I did finish my 4 whip go things for January and February. Like in January, we had the Dye the Garden Carps fabrics, which I think I actually mentioned that is a finished whip go thing, and to start the Forest Fox, which I since finished as well. So January whip go was done, and then in February I had the full and my winter piece called. So winter was just called for 2,000 stitches, which again I didn't manage in February, but then I managed within March, and then with the full I also tacked on the goal of starting the Hanged Man. So I finished the Fool and I started the Hanged Man. So that is done as well. And then for March, I actually totally freestyled. Do I remember what I had? I think like it was 9 and 24 that was called. I would have to go back and refer to my own video now to figure out what those numbers would be. But I think the 24 was my Game of Thrones chart, which I don't know. I feel like I have enough charts going right now. So I just put the Pumpkin Spice Cottage in that slot to make this long story very short. I kicked out the Game of Thrones chart, which doesn't even exist yet. So I put the Pumpkin Spice Cottage in there, and that's also why I then decided to make it a 2000 stitch goal to have a proper whip goal. And then in the place of 9, which I think was the spot of my lake house pattern back when I made my whip go board, which obviously now is gone as well, I put my Birds Summer new start. So that's what my March goals were. And I put a stitch goal of 1000 stitches on there. So my March goals aren't met yet. So I still have a bit of work to do. I guess Pumpkin Spice Cottage, I'm halfway there. And then I hope I get some more progress into the Birds Summer piece, because that start is a little bit pathetic. And I wouldn't have even shown you, but I wanted to mention and thank that lovely viewer who sent me the saga chart. Otherwise, I probably would have only shown it next time when I actually have some more decent progress on it. But anyways, but there is one more chart that I already made and that I already have kitted up, which I talked about on here before, and that is my Witcher chart. And I finally made a decision on what kind of fabric. That was kind of still out on a judgment, what kind of fabric I wanted to stitch it on, even though I was kitting it up as if I was stitching my 25 count 2/1 tent. But actually Anna made me she inspired me to start the Pumpkin Cottage piece as a 1/1 full cross piece on the 25 count, and I really like that. It's super nice and delicate. So I do like the over 1 stitching for sure. And Crafty Gaming Jamie, she has a piece now on 32 count 1/1 10 stitch. It's her hate sow. She's stitching that way, and it does look like the coverage is not quite as full. And maybe I'm shooting myself in the leg now, because the Witcher chart is on the dark side, where usually coverage is a little bit more important. But I wanted to give it a go, which is why I have a huge piece of 32 count here. So I have to find a method to stitch on this now, because this is definitely way more fabric than I need for the Witcher. But that's the way I can buy it here. Or my mom got this for me for my birthday, together with that one hoop I already have in use and another one. I really like the Nerd Troops. This is really working well for me and with my stand. And she also got me 3 flosses just to make it complete. Those are missing. I don't even know where they're missing anymore. I know definitely one I was missing in the Tomb Raider chart, and yeah, I think the Witcher chart is also still missing a few colors. And I also may have ordered a master set of CXC, and maybe I wait for that before I start with the Witcher. Now that I talked about this out loud and kind of realized there's a lot of dark colors, and CXC is thicker. It has better coverage than DMC, and there's definitely a few DMC threads in my kit for Witcher, so I might swap those out with a CXC, since that's what's coming with a mail now. But I'll still have to wait. I haven't gotten a shipping notification yet, but yes, I decided to get a CXC master thread from China, from a seller I ordered from before, and I was happy with like my CXC I have so far is from that seller. So I figured I can take the deep dive and get the master set. So we'll see. When that gets here, I'll show you. I guess I'll have a bit of a flossing app work to do then once that gets here. But yeah, maybe I'll make it a, I don't know, floss my floss drops talkie video. I actually filmed a stitch with me, but now that I'm doing the podcast, I was planning on releasing that today. But now that I filmed the podcast, I don't know if it's kind of stupid to have like a stitch with me from about a week ago. I just didn't get around to even putting the footage on my computer. But maybe there's going to be 2 videos. Maybe I'm going to release the stitch with me, which worked. That's what I meant to say. I actually managed to kind of talk and stitch at the same time, and it wasn't like super crazy awkward. So that gives me the motivation to maybe do more of those as well. But I guess I have to upload it first. Anyways, I stopped talking now. I stopped rambling now. Thank you for hanging out with me. And now I'm thinking of an emoji, a flower. Send me a flower. I got so many nice flowers for my birthday. I was thinking of putting one back there, but it seemed a little bit forlorn among all my junk there, so I decided against it. But yes, my house smells lovely with all the flowers right now. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time. Bye bye.